Namaste. I'm Kavita Mathur and I'm from the Yoga Institute. Man is essentially a social being, and whether it's at the personal level or professional or at the level of society, we live in communities. Communication is a very integral part of being part of a community or living in a community. And when it comes to communication, there are two aspects of it. One is speaking and one is listening. Today, we're going to talk about active listening being a very important element of communication, a good quality communication. So I'd love to share a quote here with you about listening. So listening is not just about hearing words. It is a silent communication of respect, empathy, and understanding, which bridges the gap between hearts and minds. So now let's talk about how we can become good listeners. So we can become good listeners by being present. How can we be? By absorbing what the other person is saying, by creating an eye contact, by having the right expression, sometimes a little nod, the right posture. Sometimes the posture needs to be erect. Sometimes you can just bend forward to sound like a good listener. And by being fully present, putting ourselves in their shoes, putting our phones away, because phones, constantly being distracted by phones would take away from our capacity to listen really well. Also advising when we have been asked to advise, not judging, not criticizing, and creating a safe space for the listeners. I'll give you a couple of examples to make it easy to understand. Say, for example, someone comes and says, I have this stomach ache, and we immediately jump on to saying, oh yeah, I had one yesterday and this is what I took and it helped me. Or we may jump on to saying, oh, you must have eaten something outside or you must have overeaten. So we are either judging or we are advising, as opposed to just sitting back and listening to their stories. Another thing that we tend to do is lose patience and start interrupting the people who are speaking, especially with children and the older people. We need to just sit back and listen and allow themselves to gather their thoughts and narrate their little stories out to us. So being a good listener is really important to effective communication, and this is what entails or brings about creating good connections and deeper and stronger relationships. So sometimes it's really important also when the speaker is emotional to keep a calm, composed body language and expression on our faces in order for them to be able to speak their heart out to us. Expression matters a lot. I had a friend sharing this example with me yesterday, in fact. And she said whenever she asks her mother for advice, her mother comes back with an answer with an expression on her face going no, and that can really be hard on her. So even if you have some advice to give and you've been asked for an advice, make sure that you give it with a pleasant expression and it will be taken so much better. So these are some of the things that we can keep in mind. They would help us in becoming effective listeners and effective communicators, and this would help us to deepen and strengthen our relationships and connections. And they are very, very doable. So let's all work towards it together to become good communicators. Thank you. Namaste.